Okay, I think we should be live. So, 2 minutes late. That's not bad, actually. I think that's probably considered to be on time for us. So, whilst we get everyone logged in, you might notice that Jane has changed this evening, has grown a sort of moustache and beard, and looks slightly different to most people. So basically, Jane's not very well. She's got a bit of a cough, a bit of a cold, and we thought that might come out on the podcast. So Ollie very kindly stepped in to to host with Chen, host with myself, do the questions. Ollie's quite used to talking, and obviously we used Ollie before when we did a lot of the Spirit Release Academy work to do client interviews. So Ollie should be well versed at talking to Chen, basically, which is always good. So it's always good to have family members that can nip in when they need to. Okay, so we just wait to get a few people logged in, and then we'll get going. So just checking that Ollie can see the chat.
Yeah, I think so.
He's going to be taking the questions. Yep.
All good.
Good. Perfect. Jane will be downstairs, as she normally is, watching and listening with bated breath, I expect, that we've been left on our own to carry on. So I think there was a slight amount of trepidation that the boys were being left in charge. So
could be dangerous.
The cat's away. The mice will play, which will be good. So from my perspective, so this week I think there's a whole host of questions. Jane shot them over to Ollie. People just joining. Thanks for coming in. If you can just let us know who you are, where you're from, that'd be great. It's great to see that in the chat. It'll probably be helpful to Ollie because obviously Jane knows lots of the people on here generally that are regulars. Ollie won't do so much. So if you can just introduce yourself in a kind of summary, that'd be really good. Vanessa's here doing the sound check, which is cool. Ollie's sound is good. Perfect. So do you just introduce yourself, Ollie? Do your own introduction rather than me doing it for you?
I mean, I'm Andy's son. Do the tech, the website, and yeah, that's me really.
That's you, and you run your own business. Do you want to tell us a bit about that, which is always good?
Yeah, so I do websites, marketing, and IT support. So when I'm not doing dad's stuff, I'm busy doing all of those bits here and there.
Perfect. So do you want to just give everyone your website, just in case anyone needs some website help, social media help, social media advertising, marketing, anything like that? Ollie's quite good at doing, which is very handy for us, actually, because obviously this business, even though we're a spiritual business, everything, as you guys know, needs the tech to run these days. So having an IT person behind the scenes that can kind of keep things working, keep websites up, maintain websites, and all of the tech is a kind of must-have, really, as opposed to what would have been a nice-to-have in the old days. So we're very fortunate that Ollie's kind of followed in my footsteps along the IT line and now has the job of running all of our tech behind the scenes. So if you want to just give us a bit about your website, Ollie, and what you do.
Yeah, I'm just getting the chat up somewhere.
Well, the chat is on, actually.
Yeah, I can't seem to comment, so I'll 1 second.
So can you see the chat, Ollie?
I can see the chat, I just can't comment.
Oh.
Let's have a look. Good old tech issues, eh?
Okay, so I put them on the stage. It's quite good that we can see the comments coming through, actually, which is handy.
Yeah, 1 second.
So maybe it's because you're a guest, possibly. Private chat.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to allow me to comment, but that's fine.
Yeah, that'll be okay. We can cover it in the conversational part anyway, actually.
Yeah, that's no worries.
So we've got Vanessa, we've got Elaine. Hi to Elaine. Good to have you. And Joe, of course. Joe's here. Nothing came up on Facebook. Doesn't surprise me with Facebook these days, actually. I did do a post which may have annoyed people on Facebook a while back, last week, which was around how it kind of dawned on me, really, that Facebook was kind of holding back spiritual businesses and spiritual things. So kind of just doing a bit of a deep dive into the algorithms that Facebook and some of these social media companies are using, it became pretty clear to us, really, that even though we're a business and we pay to use Facebook, we pay to to advertise our product services. We boost our posts. So there is a kind of a payment stream from us as a client to Facebook. They do throttle back and hold back our posts. I kind of wondered why that was. And I did a bit of research, a bit of digging using certain AI tools that are quite good, and kind of realized that basically because we're talking about positive things, positive energy, positive conversations, the people that are engaging with us are positive, there's lots of hearts, lots of positivity, that doesn't really fit the current algorithms that these big social media platforms like Facebook are using, basically. So their algorithm and their platform is all about creating negativity, creating contentious content, people arguing, conspiracy stuff on there, that kind of thing. So the algorithm is designed to support high engagement, basically because people are arguing with each other. Whereas if we're having a spiritually positive conversation with positive engagement, positive content, that content and those posts are not being pushed out by the algorithm. So it kind of was a bit of an aha moment. And then Jane and I started to do a bit of digging, actually. We started to look at a lot of other big names in the spiritual arena to see how they were getting on with our Facebook. And we saw the same thing. Lots of big names that we all know. If you actually look at their posts, they get very low engagement. The posts aren't really going very far. They're not being promoted and pushed at all, really. So it kind of figures that obviously what we're doing doesn't really sit in the space that these big social media tech companies are looking for, particularly. And of course, that makes it slightly difficult from a business perspective as to how do we get to our audience, because there's an audience that wants to watch our content, and we're trying to create content with Chen to push to the audience. Of course, if we can't do that via the normal kind of social media methods, then obviously it makes it slightly more tricky. So we're reviewing our options and looking at what other things we can do, and maybe we need to consider whether social media is the right place for us to be. Actually, if obviously we can't get to you guys. So Mary's just saying that Andy's stuck. Hopefully not anymore. Oh, it's YouTube that's playing up, is it, basically?
It's not one, it's the other.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Mary's saying just move from YouTube as it's stuck for me. So we are streaming on 2 platforms. So streaming on YouTube, our YouTube channel, and also on Facebook, on the Olly Porter Psychic Surgeon Facebook page. So what I may do a moment, whilst you guys are just logging in, let me get the pages up. Oh, I can put the links in here then, actually, which hopefully people can pick up. I can see us on Facebook, which is good. So just bear with me if I pop the link in the chat. So that should be the Facebook link there. And then for you guys that are on YouTube, let's just go to YouTube. Okay, so the YouTube channel link should be here. There we go. So Joe said someone's missing. So I did cover that at the start, but any of you that have just joined. So Jane has got lady flu. Well, she hasn't got lady flu. She's got a cough, basically. But, you know, obviously us men just get on with these things. But for ladies, slightly more tricky. So Jane didn't want to be on here coughing and spluttering. So we kind of hoisted in my son Olly, who's very into tech, very good at hosting, done some work before for us with SRA, with student interviews, that kind of thing. So Olly will be a good match for Jane. Probably not quite so, what will I say, rounded.
Like.
Rounded, but yep, exactly. It's lady flu. Oh yeah, okay, it's lady flu. So Joe, so that's where Jane is. Jane's downstairs listening, watching, in trepidation, basically. We've been left to do this on our own, which is quite funny. So that's kind of what's going on. So for you new guys joining, I think there's about 15, 16 people. If you just want to put your name in the chat, where you are, where you're from, that kind of thing, would be good for Olly to see that. And he's going to basically run the questions. So the concept is, dangerous ground, Mary. I know what I like to be on dangerous ground, as you know, because there's no point being on solid ground, is there? Plus the fact Jane's separated from me by half a house, so she can't rush up here too fast. Anyway, so I'll be fine. Candy's just saying, left Jane or lady flu. You know what's going to happen, don't you? After this podcast, I'm going to get it, and that'll be me next week. So it's got man flu, which, as we know, is 5 times worse than lady flu. So anything could happen. Anyway, one of the things I was going to talk about this week is energy cords as a starting point, really. So we know that energetic cords, we have lots of questions about cording, And when we send reports back to clients, they talk about energy cords. What are energy cords? Why do we have them? What do we do with them? So kind of in summary, really. So energy cords are connections, really, that form between people through emotions, relationships, and shared experiences. So think of when you're out in the road and you're talking to someone, you're energetically connecting to that person. Therefore, energetic cords are connecting between you both. So while some are natural and healthy, others can become unbalanced, especially when they're tied to conflict and then dependency or unresolved issues. So again, if you're having an argument with someone, you're both connecting, you're cording to each other, but with negative, low vibrating, energetic cords and connections. And these unhealthy cords then can kind of drain your energy, they affect your mood, they leave you feeling influenced really by someone else's emotional state generally. And of course, the more negative the conversation, the more negative the cords, the more negative the connectivity between you. So what we do in our clearings is we clear, or Chen finds and identifies those negative cords, and he clears them, literally helping to restore your kind of personal boundaries, returning your energy to you, disconnecting you from negativity from someone else, and brings you back into a more stable, clear, and self-controlled state. So think of energetic cording really as an emotional connection that is happening all day, every day. If you walk into a shopping mall and you talk to people, you're connecting to them. If you're buying petrol gas at the petrol station, gas station, you're connecting to the cashier. So think about your energy. If you're in that space and you're negative or you're angry or you're feeling upset, then you're going to be sending out negative cords to the person that you're talking to. So this is where we need to be in our own kind of spiritual sovereignty, our own kind of protected bubble of light, effectively the way that we talk about it. And that way we're keeping our cords to ourselves and we're protecting ourselves, importantly, from other people's negative emotions and thoughts. So hopefully, in a kind of nutshell, that explains energetic cording. Okay, so we're going to get started. So we'll get Chen in, hand over to Olly. So as we all know, that will take a few minutes, like about 10 seconds, because Chen's always ready to go. So Chen will take over, basically, from my perspective, hand it over to Olly, and then I'll catch you guys when I come back. So if you want to pop questions in the chat, just do what we normally do every week. Just pop your questions in. Olly will be able to see them and read them. And of course, he's talking to Boss Lady, as Michael Santos calls her, downstairs, Jane downstairs. So between the two of them, they should be fine to kind of cover the questions that we need to talk about. Okay, so let's get going, and I'll catch you folks later. Good day to you all. Obviously, my name is Chen, so I'm Andrew's principal guide and surgeon. So firstly, before we kick off, I'd like to welcome young Oliver to the stage. It's very interesting to do this remotely. Of course, young Oliver doesn't live in the same household, so he is not sat alongside me in the way that Jane would be. So this is interesting, really, certainly for me to do this remotely. And it shows, of course, the way that we can work intertwining spiritual conversation, but across distance using the technology. So the technology has become a very important addition to the way that we work. So I've spoken to young Oliver many times. He's very aware of the way that I speak, the way that I do things, and how we connect. So welcome to this chat and conversation. And I will basically now hand over to young Oliver to be able to ask me questions, and we'll run through the topics in the same way that I would, of course, do with Jane.
Thank you, Chen. I like how you do always call me young Oliver, but these days I'm not really feeling so young anymore.
Yes, well, this does happen, but of course, compared to your spiritual age, then of course you are young. And I know that you call yourself by different names, but we tend to see your energetic vibration, and that means the name that you were born with is the name that's overlaid energetically onto your physicality. So even though you have an alias for yourself, which I know is Olly, I still see your energetic pattern as your birth name, which of course is Oliver. And this is why I tend to refer to most people by their birth name.
I'm only usually called that when I'm in trouble, which is most of the time, but we won't go there. Right. So, first question's from Joe from Bristol. So, what's the best way to access our soul's knowledge, as in from previous lives?
Yes, that's a very good question. So again, we know that we all have past lives. If we're here on this planet in the physicality now, today, we would have had past lives. So most 99.9% of people incarnated have had past lives. So of course, that past life connection and the things that you were, the things that you did, the person that you became, the experiences that you had, all of that information is amalgamated and locked into the energy grid, or we call it the Akashic record of that person's imprint, which you say would be the soul. So we have the crystalline grid on planet Earth, and we know that inside the planet we have huge crystals. The grid is made of quartz crystal, and we know that basically this is effectively think of a computer disk with lots of information that you cannot access unless you know how to query the computer disk. The records, the Akashic records of your soul's imprint and your experiences are locked and written into the grid, the energetic crystalline structure. So for you to find out about your past lives, the person that you were, the things that you did, the experiences that you had, you have to have or be able to access the grid in the same way that you would use a computer to access data and information stored on a hard disk. So same concept. Now, how do we do that? Of course. So if you can't do this yourself, you would need to find someone that has the spiritual abilities, the psychic gifts to be able to question and connect to the grid, the crystalline structure, and then be able to question on your behalf the questions that you would like to know. So hopefully, does that answer the question succinctly?
Yeah, not for me, but we will wait for the reply. So we've got one more here, which is from Fafi. So soulmates are just unfurnished experiences or trauma bonds, or divine partners, twin flames. Any clarity about recognizing mates?
Yes, that's interesting. So, what we're talking about here is different terminology. So, some people say twin flames, some people say soulmates. There are different terminologies at use. What we're talking about is another part of you generally. So, if you've lived past lives, which you would have, and of course, you may have lived with someone, married someone, been with someone in a past life to start with, then if you meet in this life, you would call this a soul connection, a twin flame, or a soulmate. So again, you've met someone that you've had a past life with, and that was probably quite an emotional experience. So maybe you were married to that person, and of course, when you re-meet again in this new life, you pick up from where you left on energetically, and you know each other. You know each other, and you recognize, more importantly, of course, each other's signature, because you all have this huge big number that's your vibratory frequency, and that number basically locks and moves forward from lifetime to lifetime. So when you meet a person, you might see them in a different color skin, a different religion, a different sex, obviously a different body and face, but you recognize each other's vibration, you recognize each other's frequency, and therefore you know each other. So the moment you meet, you may meet in a road, you may meet at a party, you may meet in someone's house, but there's a meeting, and the moment the two energies connect, the frequencies lock together, and you instantly recognize that person. You know them, you can remember the experiences that you had, and the longer you're together, the more your vibratory frequencies interlock, and this pulls you in very tightly. And of course, this can be sometimes detrimental, because these relationships can either be wonderfully positive, where you're pulling together and you're going in the right direction and you're aligning yourselves together. But if they're working in the negative, then of course they're quite detrimental. They're very angry. There's lots of emotion, maybe unprocessed events from past lives will come out and be flushed out into this life. So you may find yourself at loggerheads with each other because there are unresolved conflicts that were never resolved in a past life. you get the opportunity to work through them again, of course, in this life. So these types of meetings and relationships are the ones that most spiritual people are looking for. Most spiritual people know that there is another person out there walking the planet somewhere that is their soulmate, their twin flame, the other part of themselves. And trying to locate and find that person, of course, is a huge task. But ultimately, we know that everything is vibratory frequency, and we know that we attract what we think about. So if you start to think about your soulmate, if you start to build this image of a person that you want for you, and especially overlaying that with the concepts of that person, your soulmate, your twin flame, especially from a past life, then you pour that energy towards each other. And this is how people have these chance encounters with the other part of them, basically, in sometimes the most oddest of situations. But of course, you connect and you know each other intimately. And when this happens, this is such a huge energy connection. And of course, it can be quite disastrous if you're already married or you're already in other relationships. These connections will pull apart everything because the energy in the connection is so strong between you, it will pull you away from everything else, because this is divine connection, energetic connection at the highest level. And of course, when you get into these relationships, they're tremendously positive and aspects for you to grow and learn. Now, hopefully that makes sense to the questioner.
I think they said it did, and the previous one was also answered well. Just to quickly follow on from that, so would you ever remember anything from, if you were with that person in this life, from previous lives together? Would you ever remember anything or have any memories or visions, I guess, of things?
It's a very opportune question. So you might do, but it's unlikely, because what happens is when you come into this new incarnation, for most people, effectively, the memory is wiped. The slate is wiped clean. You come in as a new clean skin, a fresh soul, basically. Some people do have memories of their past lives, but of course you can access your past lives. We know we covered that in the first question. So you could go and see a psychic or a spiritual person and say, what happened in the past life? The two of us, we feel that we have this soul twin flame connection. How did that end? Why did it end? What happened? And what are we here to do now? We're obviously incarnated again. We've met each other again the second time round. So now, what is there at play? What do we need to work through? And how do we need to manifest the things that will be positive, that will push us forward on both of our spiritual journeys and past connection? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. A couple more questions, but I'll ask some of these first. So next one's from Vanessa. Can I ask, when we come to Earth as humans, do we always meet our spirit guides?
When you come to Earth as humans, you all have spirit guides. So the moment you choose to incarnate, basically, you're aligned with a spiritual guide. So every single person walking the planet has a connected spirit guide. Whether they get to meet them and connect with them, of course, depends upon their amount of spiritual training and obviously the programming system, because the Earth programming system that you have in schools, you have from your culture, your media, your family, and especially religion, overlays on top and removes the concept of that connection. If you look at most religions, you're working with a deity figure that's the one that connects, or you're working with a church and the person that runs the church is the one that connects. But they don't encourage you to connect to your own spiritual intelligence, your own spiritual guide. People that move onto a spiritual path understand that they are autonomous in themselves. They're unique. They have their spiritual guidance. They can connect to their higher self and they can connect to their spirit guide. And this, of course, is why when people start to walk the spiritual path, all of the other overlays and programming system falls apart right amongst their very feet, because they realize that the teaching and the concepts they were given from their families, from their cultural, societal structures don't align correctly with spiritual teachings. And of course, this is done on purpose, because If everyone was connected to their own spirit guides and their own guidance, and that was authentic, their authentic positive connections, the earth would be a very, very different place. But at the moment, most people have given their power away to other energies and entities to control them, and they're subservient to them in that way. So yes, to answer the question, everyone has a spirit guide. Whether you learn to connect to them or not depends upon whether you follow your spiritual path. And of course, meditation is the starting point. Most people will never get guidance from their own spirit guides unless they use meditation and adopt these practices that are well known to clear the mind, clear away the detritus, the negativity, and get that connection to your own guide in place, which of course everyone can do. And if you look at young children that are being born, young children sit and laugh all the time. They look in different directions. They're smiling. They're still connected to spirit. They can see your spiritual ancestors. They can see their own spirit guides. It's only the programming system that basically separates this connection as children start to grow. But young babies, probably up to the age of 2 to 3, are still connected to spirit. They can still see and speak to spirit, your ancestors, and the guides. So hopefully that answers that question.
That's very interesting. So Candy's probably a bit more intelligent than me, but I'm going to try and say this word. So any tips on an acrimonious divorce with children involved?
Yes. So that's a very good question. So when two people decide to split for whatever reason, of course, things become difficult because, of course, you've got the physical things to do, you've got the emotional things to do, and, of course, more difficult in a way is the finances. Splitting away finances becomes tricky. So trying to have some sort of positive method to do that is difficult. And, of course, if you're spiritual, you will know that this is a good way to do things. It's good to sit down over a cup of tea or something and to basically work through what's best for the children, what's best for both of you, to divide the money. So everything, when we talk about divorce generally, the way that we would see things spiritually should be a 50-50 split. Energetically, the man should take 50% of the accountability, and of course the woman should take 50% of the accountability in whatever way. And the same, of course, for the relationship with the children. Different people go to work, different people stay at home and manage or look after children. But effectively, it should be a case that you sit down and work through what's best for the particular children, because they all have their unique needs and requirements. And of course, to make it harmonious and positive, it has to be an adult-like connection and conversation. But unfortunately, most people are unable to do that because one or the other parties doesn't really accept what's happened, especially if someone has chosen to be with someone else. There may be deceit, there may be negativity, they may feel hurt and wounded. So when you have a person in a relationship that's feeling hurt and wounded and angry, they're in a low vibrating negative state. So it's going to be very difficult for them to move their vibration up, to see things from a wider viewpoint in terms of looking after and managing the relationship for the children and taking that forward in a positive way. So I would say the first thing that really should happen is both people in a relationship that divide should be counseled or have some sort of therapy to clear their negative energy, change their mindset, see this as a positive thing. We couldn't live together, but we had children. We must have loved each other at some point. There must have been a positive, loving connection. Now that we've divided, you cheated on me, so I feel hurt and wounded for that. But I'm going to work through that with a therapist. You need to work through your integrity levels and the reason you did those things. And you may have done that, of course, to me because I wasn't giving you something. So everything has a bigger picture. If two therapists could sit down in the room with the couple that are about to split and go through both of those pictures, clear the negative energy and say, let's now work forward. Let's think about the children, because if things are done in a negative way, the children become wounded. And then, of course, you have wounded children that become wounded parents. And wounded parents then have children that become wounded. And this thing just goes round and round. So the conscious way to do it is to clear the negative emotion from both of the parents that are splitting first, then start to get the harmonious conversation flowing and do things in a positive way. And if you agree with a 50-50 divide of everything down the middle, neither party has anything negative to feel. That the man will feel, okay, I've got 50%, or I'm happy with a 50% split, as will the other person, whether that's a wife or a partner or however things are in the relationship. But 50-50 energetically is a very safe way to divide everything, and that way there's no animosity. Whereas if one person walks off with 80% and the other person's left with 20, there's always going to be negativity, always going to be anger, hatred, all of the low vibrating frequencies are going to be involved, and that's going to play forward for the rest of their connection. And the children, of course, will pick up on that as they grow older too. So hopefully that provides some type of guidance and direction over how to split things apart, but do it in a positive way. But you have to work on yourselves. It's no good looking at the children. It's no good looking at the situation. The two people involved have to do their own work first to clear the negative energy, and then they can move forward in a positive way.
Perfect. Thank you, Chen. So the next one's from Willa. So does Chen have any guidance on manifesting financial abundance? As a spiritual person, it hasn't been a priority, but now I want to feel empowered and grow abundance.
Yes, this is a lovely question. I love questions on finance, and this is the biggest question. Most people that are spiritual don't have any money. And why is this? Why is it that spiritual people don't have money? For some people, again, we're back to programming and overlays. Wealthy people, think about your upbringing and society, again, religion, the way that you're programmed to think. If you see a multi-millionaire or billionaire, what's the first thought? You don't think, I expect they've probably worked 19 hours a day for 20 years. They've put their life and their soul into their work, and they've basically made themselves. They're self-made. The first thought generally is, oh, they must have been corrupt. They must have had money come in from their families or somewhere else, or they must have done negative things to people. That's most people's first thought when you think about someone with huge amounts of money. And of course, this is why spiritual people have no money generally, because they're living in this space where, again, the programming and the overlays is you're spiritual. You've been given spiritual gifts. You can talk to your spirit guides. You can do things spiritually. It's a gift, and therefore it shouldn't be charged to start with. So that first thought process is one of the most common ones for spiritual people that we have to deal with. So spiritual people have to pay bills. Spiritual people have to buy food. Spiritual people have to support their families. So forget the word gift. There's nothing entitled about being spiritual, connecting to guides and working spiritually. In fact, you could say that spiritual people, most of them, have learnt their spirituality alongside their normal job. So they've worked twice as hard as the people that sit and watch the football all day, because they're doing their core job as their first thing. And then, of course, they're maybe helping or running families. And then in the short time that's left, they're developing themselves spiritually. So they're actually doing two things at once. And therefore, that has to be recompensed. It would only be right for it to be recompensed. So people that become quite successful spiritually have learned that they have to deal with the old thoughts, the old feelings, the old emotions, and disconnect the concept that, oh, I'm doing quite well for myself, and I should feel bad. I should feel guilty because I've got some money. No, if spiritual people on the planet had all of the money, the planet would be a very different place. Because at the moment, we've got the 1% that have all the money that generally use it negatively to control the rest of the people. Spiritual people need some of the money to be able to manifest their dreams and help other people. So spiritual people really need to change the thought process. So this is the first thing: unlock the connection, wealth to what you do. If you're spiritual, you should be a millionaire. You should be able to manifest that money. You should be able to advertise yourself and stand up. I've been working for 20 years. I've put lots of time and effort into my education spiritually. I've moved myself into a high vibrating place. I'm connecting and helping other people. I should have enormous amounts of money. Why shouldn't I? So that's the first thing to do. The second thing is to believe it, because again, most people don't believe they should be wealthy. Most people don't believe they should be rich beyond their wildest dreams, because they think it happens to someone else. If you look at the teachings of all of the millionaires and billionaires, guess what? They don't mix with poor people. So again, the people that you align yourself with is the frequency that you're in. So if you look at people that have no money, they're all together. They're all living in a space of low frequency of lack, and they live in lack. Millionaires and billionaires don't mix with people that have no money, because they know that by mixing with people that have more money, a different frequency band, that's the camp they're in. They get the tips on how to make money. They get the tips on where they should put their money. They get tips on how to invest. So all of these things are available to everyone, but you have to change your mindset, and you have to start to find successful people and put yourself in successful people's circles, because you will change your frequency. The same as we talk about with energy. If you're depressed and down and you mix with other people that are depressed and down and anxious every day, you're not going to wake up one day feeling happy and jump around the room. You're going to be forever depressed and down. If you want to feel happy, you have to find happy people and spend your time in their vibratory frequency, and they will bring you up. They will give you techniques and tips. Why don't you take this herb? Why don't you take this vitamin? Why don't you go for a walk every day? Why don't you be grateful? Find gratitude in your life for the small things that you can be grateful for, and your vibration changes. But living in misery and despair means that you will always live in misery and despair. And that's how most people live their life. So to answer the question, the first thing you have to do is change your thought process. You can be wealthy, you can be rich, and you should be too. So you have to believe that. And then, of course, you have to look at your life. What am I doing in my life to make money? There's unlimited money in the world. Look at billionaires. They don't even know what to spend their money on. It's unlimited. They can basically manifest money every 2 minutes. So you have to think about, how am I going to make my money? If you sit at home watching telly and you're thinking, I'm going to manifest my first million, nothing's going to happen, because you're not doing anything to manifest a million. You have to do something. So you have to create an income flow. And for most people in the world, that means you have to create a business. And for you to create a business means you must put effort into something. And everyone is good at something. Everyone can do something. If you're spiritual, you can do talks, meditations, connections, run groups, you can connect to other people, you can collaborate with other people. Even these sorts of things, podcasts, you go and put yourself out there and say, hi, my name's Ollie, Oliver in this case. I call myself Ollie, but my name's Oliver. But I'm going to put myself forward, I'm going to put myself in the firing line, and I'm going to have a go. And we're going to see how this works out. That's a vibration change. Lots of people would sit back and think, no, I'm not going to stand in for young Jane. It's difficult. People might say nasty things to me. I don't know how I'm going to manage Chen. He talks a lot, generally. How am I going to break in? But you can see you have to change something. So for you to have money, you have to change something that you do to make money. And you have to believe in yourself. And the key is mixing with people that have more than you. This is how we say, if we look at people that learn, if you want to learn something, put yourself around people that know more than you do, because you will soon pick up on their information. If you put yourself in a room with people that don't know as much as you, you'll learn nothing, of course. So hopefully, I know that was an elaborate answer, but it was a very good question, and it's one that's quite tender and close to my heart, really, that we want you. I'm a spirit guide. I work with young Andrew and Jane. I want them to be successful, because I know that if they are, so they help lots and lots of people. And the more money they have, the more people we help. And this is part of my calling. So we're all working together. We need to collaborate and connect with each other and give someone else a hand up. If you have a podcast, if you have an audience, bring other people into the audience, give them the stage, open the door to other people. And of course, you'll get back tenfold what you give out.
Thank you, Chen. That was a very, very good answer. I do feel a bit like you're indirectly talking a bit to me there, but we'll skip on by that one. So we've got an interesting one from my good friend Diana here. So if one has entered into a contract with the dark, is it possible for them to negate or delete that contract while still alive or in this incarnation?
Yes, that's another very good question. We know that there are lots of societies in the world, and those societies align sometimes with the negative, sometimes with the positive. If you make a contract energetically with the negative side, it's a contract. That contract can be negated. You have to choose to negate it. Now, of course, if you make a contract with a group of people and they say, we're going to give you lots of secrets, and if you tell anyone these secrets, then that's going to end the contract, which might mean bad things happen to you. That's a different picture. But to actually end energetic contracts is easy. And of course, we do this from a spirit guide perspective every day. So every day I work with clients to clear their field. One of the things we do is look at the contracts that they've entered into. We bring effectively the contract book up. We look at the ones that they've agreed consciously, some of them subconsciously, or some of them in a maybe hallucinogenic state. And we basically delete all of those contracts, or we might renegotiate them. Some of the contracts could be with negative entities. The entities will say to us, well, they gave their permission away. Here I have the contract. I would review the contract and say, okay, well, you were actually masquerading as something positive when they entered into a contract with you. Therefore, I'm going to negate it. And we basically clear the energy from that entity. So we as spirit guides can negate contracts very easily. The bigger problem is it's the physical problem. If you've entered into a contract with a group of people and then you decide to back out, if something happens to you or you've agreed that something can happen to you in a very negative way, if you try to renegade and negate that contract, then that's a very different thing. But from a spiritual perspective, it's very easy to negate contracts because you change your mind, you change your intention, and we can do that for you. Hopefully that makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, bear with me just a second. Let's have a look. So, please can Chen clarify what core conscious awareness is?
Yes, we use this in our meditations all of the time. We say that we connect to core conscious awareness. So different words for different people. This is mine and young Andrew's terminology generally. It means that we're connecting to source energy. Source energy being benign, neither positive, neither negative. It's a benign energy. Sometimes young Jane has asked me questions about God. I said, what is God? Is God a person? And of course we laugh and say, well, no, of course God's not a person that sits on the cloud. It'd be a bit heavy. They'd probably fall through the cloud. The word God is misused really across the world by most people. So when we talk about God, we're talking about source energy. And source energy is benignly, it's neither positive nor negative. It's benign. So when we do meditations, we don't connect to deities. We never connect to a entity. We don't know what the entity is. We don't know if it's positive or negative, and we don't wish to put ourselves in a position that we're connecting to imposters. And we know that imposters try to mimic and masquerade as positive entities. So again, if we think about religions, they try to connect to entities. We don't know what they are. Well, we do know what they are. Most of them are negative. So what we do is we connect to core conscious awareness, which is source energy, connecting to the energy effectively. And that, of course, means that you can pull through your spiritual body high vibrating, pure source energy. Think of core conscious awareness as white light. You bring white light through the field. You cleanse and clear negativity from your field. This is a very high vibrating positive state that's not aligned with anything positive or negative. It's a benign energy frequency, but of course it clears. And this is why we always say in all of our teachings that we do, and young Andrew does this in all of the courses, we never connect to entities or deities. We always connect to source. Hopefully that makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I've been instructed now. I think it's time to do the 10-minute meditation if possible.
Yes, of course. The time does run away with us.
It does indeed.
Yes. Okay. So let me just take a moment. So if you find yourself in a comfortable place, a comfortable position, allow yourself to relax. Just let your arms relax, let your legs relax, let your body relax. And more importantly, let's bring you online spiritually. So just breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And now just continue to inhale through your nose, fill your lungs to capacity, and then exhale through your mouth. And now just continue to do that as we start to change our frequency. Now just put a thought out to your spiritual guidance that you're changing vibration. You're moving into meditation. We're connecting to our spiritual guides, spiritual guidance. And we're requesting that they connect to us. It's just a thought. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to hear an answer. We just put the thought out. I'm connecting to my spiritual guidance, working for my highest good and the highest good of mankind. Now just bring your conscious awareness to your feet. See those huge big grounding roots immediately leaving the bottoms of your feet, like the roots of a tree, going straight down into the center of Mother Earth, connecting you to the core of the planet's energy spiritually, the planet that you live on, grounding your frequency, connecting you to the mother that hosts you, that you thrive on. And immediately you can feel your legs become heavy as you ground yourself. Now just bring your conscious awareness to your heart center. And like a doorway that opens on its own, see your heart chakra open. And a bright white light floods out, like a lighthouse beam. That's a bright white incandescent light, cleansing, clearing, and burning away any negativity that's in your field. And now watch as that white light cascades down through the lower part of your body, opening your solar plex chakra, your sacral chakra, and your root chakra. And you see that white light emanating from each chakra as it opens, like a doorway on its own. And then push that bright white light down through the tops of your legs, down past your knees, down into your feet, down into the center of Mother Earth, grounding, clearing, and protecting your space, your frequency. Now bring your conscious awareness back to your heart center. Now see that bright white light moving upwards through your chest, up to the tops of your arms. See that white light, incandescent in color, burning bright white light like a bulb, run down through the tops of your arms, down to your elbows, into your hands, exploding from each fingertip, cleansing and clearing your field. And now watch as that bright white light moves upwards to your throat chakra. Again, you see a door fly open on its own, and that bright white light explodes out, cleansing and clearing your vocal cords, clearing and breaking any cords, any negativity, anything that's been put across you energetically to stop you having a voice, to stop you speaking your truth. And now write the words truth and integrity across your throat chakra as we program that chakra so that when you speak words with truth and integrity. And you're held to account by spirit, by your guides, by your guidance, that you try to speak your truth, the truth that you believe, every time you open your mouth. And now watch as that bright white light moves up into your head out of your third eye chakra. This is your spiritual view. That bright white light is cleansing and clearing your field. This is where you see interdimensionally. This is where you see imagery in your dreams. This is where you connect to the astral. This is where you connect to other energies and entities that exist in different frequencies. So we're clearing the third eye. And now write the word protection across the image of your third eye as we protect our field. We protect the things that we see. We don't wish to see negative imagery that creates negative emotion. We're protecting our psychic sight with intent. And now watch as that bright white light moves up to your crown chakra at the top of your head, and then see that chakra open as that bright white incandescent light illuminates the whole top of your head and then shoots upwards out of this planet, galaxy, universe, moving upwards and onwards on its own journey. And then we write the words core conscious awareness at the top of that image, and we connect to that frequency, to source. We're connecting our spiritual self to source energy that's benign. It's neither positive or negative. It's a benign frequency, and we pull that light down through our field, cleansing and clearing and healing every cell of our being. And now view yourself from the outside looking in. See a person that's you. Look at your features, your face, your eyes, your hair. Look at what you're wearing. And lock that into the image in your mind. And now see that person start to walk forward along a golden path of light. And as you start walking along that path of light, that image starts to fade. Your clothing starts to disappear. Your footwear starts to disappear. You become bright white light, an image of light embodied in spiritual frequency. This is you dropping off the cloak, the theatre show, the image. This is you walking into your spiritual vibration. Now look at the number. There's a number in front of you. This is the percentage between 0 and 100 of your spiritual essence, your spiritual vibration. Maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe 50%. Now, every time you do this meditation, we clear the field, that number will increase. And we're looking for that number to increase up to 100% so that you attain full spiritual connection and sovereignty to source. This meditation is about connecting you to source energy so that you are connected to what you are, a spiritual being having a physical experience on planet Earth, in the same way that characters in a theatre step on stage and play their role. This is all you're doing here today in your life. You're playing a role, but you are a spiritual, intelligent being that holds a high vibratory frequency, and you're here to work. You're here to hold your frequency on planet Earth as everything changes. And this is what we must do together. We're all working to hold our frequency in front of change. We don't allow fear and negativity into our space. We hold our frequency, we hold our emotions. We remember this is a play, this is a theatre show. Therefore, there's no reason to be frightened and fearful. Step forward, take your power, take your light. You are a spiritual warrior of the light, and that's why you're here. Now just remember who you are. Lock that into your mind, lock that frequency into your space. We've dissolved and cleared all negativity from your field. You're light, a light being. Now just bring your thoughts back into the room that you're in. Wiggle your hands, your feet, your toes, and then when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, we'll just take a moment for everyone to come back. That was a very deep meditation, changing frequency very fast. And whilst we were doing that meditation, I was actually receiving updates from your guides as to the huge change of frequency that many of you were electing. And this, of course, is the beauty of these short meditations. They're fast. They're designed to be quick, fast, but very, very influential on your frequency in your space. Dean Oliver, I'll hand back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Chen. It's been lovely to chat to you. I am being given updates by the boss, though, to ask for Dad back if possible. If Andy could come back, yeah.
Yes, of course. I suppose he'll have to come back. I could obviously continue to talk to you for hours, young man. So
we will catch up again soon.
Yes, we will do that offline.
Yeah.
Okay, I will say good day to all. Hopefully you've enjoyed the questions and answers this week without the boss at the helm, of course, and we do wish you well. And I will catch you again next week. Good day.
Alrighty?
Yep. You?
Yeah, good, thank you.
You're looking all smiley, so that was good.
Yeah. You'll enjoy watching it back later, I think.
Yeah, I know. I normally get to watch it next day, actually. So that'll be my Tuesday on the way to
homework.
Work, which will be good. So Jane's laughing about the boss, is she? There's a question in the comments about the boss.
Well, they are the bosses, aren't they? That's that way.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, isn't it, really? Okay. So thanks, Ollie, for doing that. Just stepping in the last minute whilst Jane's got lady flu, which is terrible. And I'll say thanks to everyone for joining. And again, hope you've enjoyed the session. And we'll look forward to catching you all again next week when hopefully young Jane will be back at the helm. Young Jane and young Oliver. Thanks, Bilal.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Catch you later.
See you later. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.